I am Adire, I shine so bright. A champion's heart, a winner's light. With dreams so high, I'll reach the sky. I am Adire, I am so high. I am Adire, I am so high.
In the bustling city of Lagos, in the affluent neighborhood of Lekki, stood a grand mansion. It was home to Adire, an only child adored by her parents. Adire was a brilliant student at the expensive Lekki Royal Secondary School. She was always at the top of her class and excelling in academics, athletics, and music. She loved to sing. However, despite Adire's many talents, she had one fear, one big phobia that overshadowed her almost perfect life, and that is water. Adire was scared of swimming pools, lakes, rivers, and anything related to having contact with a large pool of water. Her phobia was so intense that her wealthy father had the swimming pool in their mansion closed down, hoping to alleviate her fears. Adire's daily routine was filled with academic challenges and friendly competitions, especially with Alfred, a fellow student who was equally brilliant and deeply interested in science and inventions. Alfred's innovative mind was always buzzing with new ideas, and he often found himself competing with Adire for the top spot in class. One sunny afternoon, during lunch break, Adire sat alone under the shade of a mango tree, her mind clouded with worry. Her friend, Felicity, a cheerful and inquisitive girl, noticed her moodiness and approached her. "Adire, you look troubled. What's wrong?" Felicity asked, concern evident in her voice. Adire sighed and looked up to her friend. "I have been having these repeated dreams of seeing myself drowning. It's been happening for months now." Felicity's eyes widened. "Drowning? That sounds serious. Maybe your dreams are trying to tell you something that would happen in the near future." Adire looked at her skeptically and said, "I don't think so. I don't believe in those superstitious stuff. Moreover, my parents took me to a psychologist. Although it hasn't helped, the dreams keep coming back." Felicity pondered for a moment. She had always been fascinated by the supernatural and was known for her penchant for visiting fortune tellers. She often carried a deck of peculiar cards, which she used to entertain herself and occasionally her friends. "You know," Felicity began hesitantly, "I know you think I am superstitious and all that, but I have been seeing a fortune teller recently. Her predictions are incredibly accurate. Maybe she can help you understand these dreams." Adire raised an eyebrow, a little bewildered that her friend was into this kind of stuff. "A fortune teller? You really believe in that stuff?" Adire asked. Felicity smiled reassuringly. "I do, and I have seen her predictions come true more times than I can count. Why don't you come with me and see for yourself?" Despite her initial skepticism, Adire's curiosity got the better of her. The dreams were becoming unbearable, and she was willing to try anything for answers. The next weekend, Felicity and Adire made their way through the bustling streets of Lagos to a small, inconspicuous building tucked away in a quiet corner. The fortune teller's place was filled with an electric mix of incense, crystal, and ancient books. The air was thick with a sense of mysticism and mystery. An elderly woman with piercing eyes and a serene demeanor greeted them. "Welcome," she said, her voice calm and soothing. "What brings you here today?" Felicity nudged Adire forward. My friend here has been having troubling dreams. We were hoping you could help her understand them." The fortune teller nodded and gestured for Adire to sit. She spread out her deck of cards and began to shuffle them with practiced ease. As she laid the cards out in specific pattern, her eyes seemed to pierce through Adire's very soul as she looked steadily into Adire's eyes. "You are a reincarnated being, my dear. You existed 500 years ago," the fortune teller said, finally, her voice filled with a strange certainty. "In your previous life, you met a tragic end. You died in a big river. A wicked woman caused your drowning because of her sheer wickedness." The fortune teller continued, "In these situations, for reincarnated souls, I will advise a ritual to be carried out. But from what the cards are telling me, your case is peculiar. It's very different because the only way to free yourself from these dreams is that you must go back in time and prevent the incidents from happening in the first place." Adire stared at the fortune teller, her mind racing. Go back in time? How is that even possible? The fortune teller smiled enigmatically. "The answer lies within your grasp. Seek out the one who dabbles in the realm of science and invention. He holds the key to your journey." As they left the fortune teller's place, Adire's mind was filled with a mixture of fear and hope. Felicity squeezed her hand reassuringly. "We will figure this out together, Adire. We will find a way to make this right." Adire nodded, determination hardening her resolve. Adire was intelligent enough to quickly figure out that Alfred was the person the fortune teller was referring to, even though she never mentioned his name. She shared her realization with Felicity, and they decided to approach Alfred. One afternoon, as the students were having games, Felicity and Adire called Alfred aside. "Alfred, do you have any secrets?" Felicity asked, her tone playful yet curious. Alfred, puzzled, looked at them. "Secrets? What do you mean?" Adire stepped forward. "We know you are working on something that has to do with time travel," Adire said convincingly, even though she had doubts about Alfred inventing a time machine. Alfred hesitated, but then sighed. "All right, but you have to promise not to tell anyone. I have been trying to invent a time machine. My father left his garage for me to use for my inventions." Adire and Felicity exchanged excited glances. "A time machine?" Felicity said, "You have to show us. This is unbelievable. Do you know how many scientists around the world that have been trying to invent a time machine?" Adire added, "Alfred, you'll be doing us a lot of good if you can show us this time machine." Alfred was reluctant, but finally agreed. "Fine, come with me, but I must warn you, it's not ready yet." They followed Alfred to his home, and as they stepped into the dimly lit garage, they were greeted by the sight of a complex machine. It was a tangle of wires, gears, panels, unlike anything they had ever seen. Adire's eyes widened with fascination. "This is incredible, Alfred." Alfred scratched his head. "It's far from perfect. I am not even sure if it works." Adire took a deep breath and decided to be honest with Alfred. She shared what the fortune teller had told her. Alfred listened intently, his skepticism evident. "I am not a big believer in fortune tellers, Adire. And besides, the machine isn't ready." Adire pleaded with him. "Please, Alfred, I need to try. I need to go back and prevent something terrible from happening." Alfred shook his head. "It's too dangerous." Reluctantly, the two girls left, but Adire couldn't let it go. A week later, on a Friday after school, she went alone to Alfred's house. "Alfred, please," she implored. "I know it's risky, but I have to try. I can't keep living with these terrible dreams of seeing myself drowning." Alfred looked at her for a long moment, before finally nodding. "All right, Adire, but I can't promise it will work." And Alfred set the machine to 500 years back in time, just as Adire requested. As Adire stepped into the machine, her heart pounded with a mix of fear and excitement. Alfred activated the device, and with a wheel of lights and sounds, she vanished. When Adire opened her eyes, she found herself in a remote village. The landscape was vastly different from modern-day Lagos. There were no cars, no tall buildings, just huts, farms, and dirt paths. She realized she was still in her school uniform, which made her feel out of place. She tried to talk to the villagers, but to her shock, they couldn't see or hear her. It was as if she was invincible to everyone. She wandered through the village, observing the daily life of its inhabitants. Suddenly, she heard a familiar song. Following the sound, she came upon a girl who looked exactly like her, singing the same song she often sang to herself.
"I am Adire, I shine so bright, a champion's heart, a winner's light, with dreams so high, I'll reach the sky. I am Adire, I am so high. I am Adire, I am so high."
As the girl who looked like Adire finished singing, a woman approached and called out to her. "Adire," the woman called out to the girl that just finished singing. She continued, "Auntie Tinuke, your stepmother, wants to take you to the stream to fetch water," the woman said. Adire felt a sense of urgency. This must be in the past, and her name was also Adire. "No, don't go," Adire shouted at the village Adire in Yoruba language, because she noticed they all spoke Yoruba, and luckily she had learned her mother's tongue from her parents. But her words, unfortunately, fell on deaf ears. She was invincible, unheard, and helpless. Before she could do anything, the earth spun around her, and she found herself back in Alfred's garage. She stumbled out of the machine, breathless. "It worked," she gasped, "but no one could see me. I saw myself." "You saw yourself?" Alfred asked, looking confused. "Yes, the other Adire, her name is also Adire, and I am her reincarnate. But I couldn't warn her because I was invincible to them, and they could not hear me either." Alfred's eyes widened with amazement and concern. "You really went back in time. That's incredible. But if you couldn't interact with anyone, then I need to make adjustments. It's possible that when you traveled back in time, you entered a different quantum state. Essentially, you existed in the same physical space as the villagers, but on a different frequency, like a parallel dimension. That's why they couldn't see or hear you. We need to adjust the machine to synchronize your frequency with theirs, so you can interact with them." "Please, Alfred," Adire begged. "Do all that you can, please. You just have to make it work, so I can go back and warn her. She mustn't follow Auntie Tinuke to the stream." Alfred nodded, determined to perfect his amazing invention. "I will work on it, Adire. We will make sure you can change the past and save yourself," Alfred said reassuringly. The next Friday after school, Adire went alone again to Alfred's garage, filled with a renewed sense of hope and determination. Alfred had worked tirelessly over the past week to modify the time machine, ensuring that this time Adire would be able to interact with the people of the past. The moment had finally arrived for her to make another attempt to save her past self. "Are you ready?" Alfred asked, his voice steady, but his eyes betraying a hint of worry. Adire nodded. "Yes, I am. Thank you, Alfred. I couldn't have done this without you." Alfred activated the machine, and once again, Adire was covered in a wheel of lights and sounds. When the spinning stopped, she found herself back in the ancient Yoruba village. This time, she felt different, more solid, more present. She knew she could be seen and heard. The village bustled with activity. Children ran around playing, farmers tended to their crops, and women fetched water from the stream. Adire looked down at herself. She was still in her school uniform, and she had a mission. She started searching for the village Adire. She spotted the village Adire, who was singing the same song under a big mango tree. As she approached, the woman from the last time called out to the village Adire. But Adire shouted, "Adire," she called out, her voice clear and strong. The village Adire turned, eyes wide with surprise. "Who are you?" I am you from the future," she said. Quickly realizing how strange that must sound, she said, "Listen to me. You must not go to the stream with Auntie Tunuke," she warned. The village Adire did not understand this strange girl in funny dress that had a resemblance to her. The village Adire was more scared of her stepmother Tunuke than she was of this stranger. And if Auntie Tunuke calls for her, she better be going. So she turned to walk away. But Adire from the time machine held her hand and cried out, "I reincarnated as you 500 years from now. You must not follow your stepmother to the river. Please, Adire, please," she said out loud. The villagers began to gather, curious about the strange girl in the unusual clothes, and this message of coming from the future fascinated them. So the villagers intervened and summoned for Auntie Tunuke. Auntie Tunuke came, and she saw Adire from the time machine, looking similar to her stepdaughter. The villagers then asked Auntie Tunuke, "Why do you want to take your stepchild Adire to the stream?" "What is this nonsense question?" Auntie Tunuke backed angrily. "Listen, woman," one of the village elders interjected. "If you don't speak the truth right now, we will drag you to the shrine to swear an oath. Better speak the truth and save your life." Auntie Tunuke became frightened. She kept stammering and shedding crocodile tears. Ignoring her, Adire from the time machine turned to the villagers. "Please listen to me. Auntie Tunuke plans to drown Adire. She is envious because Adire is the child of her husband's late wife, and she can't have children of her own." The villagers gasped in shock. The village chief, an elderly man with a kind face, stepped forward. "Is this true, Tunuke?" Auntie Tunuke's defiance crumbled under the weight of the accusation. She broke down in tears, falling to her knees. "It's true," she sobbed. "I was consumed by jealousy. I wanted to hurt Adire because I couldn't bear the pain of not having my own child. The plan was that after I have finished her off in the river, I will claim she drowned while swimming. Please forgive me, my people. I don't know what possessed me." The villagers murmured among themselves, their expression ranging from anger to pity. Some began to gather sticks, ready to exert their own form of justice. "Wait!" Adire from the time machine shouted, raising her hands. "Please, don't hurt her. She has confessed and shown remorse. Let us show mercy." To everyone's surprise, Adire began to sing a song of mercy.
Nobody's perfect. Please learn to forgive. Please learn to forgive. Let us live in peace and in harmony.
The melody was hauntingly beautiful, and as the villagers listened, their anger began to melt away. Even Auntie Tinuke looked up, tears streaming down her face. As the song reached its final notes, Adire felt a familiar sensation. She was disappearing, being pulled back to her own time. She managed to catch the village Adire's eyes and smiled, waving goodbye. The village Adire, now safe, smiled back. The world spun around her, and she found herself back in Alfred's garage. She stumbled out of the machine, her heart full of relief and gratitude. Alfred was there, looking at her expectantly. "It works," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I saved her. I saved myself." Alfred smiled, a look of pride and relief on his face. "I am glad, Adire. I am really glad." The next day, Adire invited Felicity to her house. The two of them were excited, the sun shining brightly overhead. Adire's parents were there, watching with a mix of curiosity. "I want to swim," Adire announced, her voice steady. Her parents exchanged glances. "Are you sure, dear?" her mother asked. "You have always been afraid of water." Adire nodded confidently. "I am sure. Please open the pool." With a mixture of pride and trepidation, her father gave the order. The pool was cleaned and filled, its clear blue water inviting in the sunlight. Adire stood at the edge, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and dove in. The water embraced her, cool and refreshing. She surfaced, laughing with joy. She swam beautifully, her stroke strong and sure. The fear that had gripped her for so long was gone, replaced by a newfound confidence. Her parents watched in awe, their hearts swelling with pride. Felicity cheered from the side, her face beaming with happiness. Adire swam to the edge and climbed out, water streaming off her. She hugged her parents tightly, tears of joy mingling with the water on her cheeks. "I did it," she whispered. "I am free." That night, as Adire lay in bed, she reflected on her journey. She had faced her fears, traveled through time, and saved herself. She had discovered the power of forgiveness and the importance of mercy, and she had learned that sometimes the bravest thing one can do is to believe in themselves. As she drifted off to sleep, a sense of peace settled over her. She knew that no matter what the future held, she was ready to face it with courage and grace. And in the quiet of the night, she whispered a silent prayer of gratitude for the friends, family, and the strange twist of fate that had led her to this moment. In the end, it wasn't just the past that Adire had changed, it was her future too. And as she closed her eyes, a soft smile played on her lips, knowing that she had finally conquered her deepest fears. And with that, Adire's story came to a close, her heart full of hope and her spirit unbreakable.
I am Adire, I shine so bright, a champion star, a winner's light, with dreams so high, I'll reach the sky. I am Adire, I am so high. I am Adire, I am so high.